Have you ever wondered what it takes to break through the walls someone has spent years building? This isn't just another love story, it's about the kind of love that saves, the kind that heals wounds so deep they've become part of who you are. If this resonates with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that remind us of the power of human connection. Michael Clark hadn't spoken more than necessary in 4 years. His colleagues at the architectural firm knew him as efficient but reserved. His neighbors recognized his truck but rarely his smile. Only 8-year-old Emma, his daughter, knew the sound of his laughter, a rare melody that appeared during their Friday movie nights, then vanished like morning mist. It wasn't always this way. Before Vanessa's car accident, Michael had been the life of every gathering, quick with a joke and generous with his time. The day he buried his wife, something inside him went silent too. He functioned, he provided, he even managed to make Emma's lunches with little notes that made her giggle. But the man who used to spontaneously dance in the kitchen or debate passionately about everything from politics to the best way to grill a steak, that man had disappeared. "Daddy, Ms. Reyes wants to talk to you about my science project," Emma announced one Tuesday afternoon, her backpack still hanging off one shoulder as she burst through the door. Michael nodded, already dreading the parent-teacher conference. These interactions were necessary tortures, exchanges where he felt Vanessa's absence like a physical weight, where other parents and teachers looked at him with that mixture of pity and discomfort that made his skin crawl. When he walked into classroom 203 that Thursday, he expected the usual, polite smiles, discussions about Emma's progress, the subtle assessment of how the widower was holding up. What he didn't expect was Lucia Reyes. "Mr. Clark. Thanks for coming. I've heard so much about you from Emma." Her handshake was firm, her smile genuine without a trace of the pity he'd grown to despise. "She's mentioned you too," he replied, the minimum required response. Emma has an incredible mind for patterns. Her science project on Fibonacci sequences in nature shows remarkable observation skills. "She gets that from you, I imagine?" The question caught him off guard. Most people attributed Emma's positive traits to Vanessa, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. This assumption that he had contributed something valuable to his daughter felt foreign. The 20-minute conference extended to 40 as Lucia showed him Emma's work, asking his opinion without making him feel studied or pitted. For the first time in years, Michael found himself engaged in a conversation that didn't feel like navigating a minefield. 2 weeks later, when Emma came home with an invitation to the school's science fair planning committee, "They need architect parents, Daddy." He surprised himself by agreeing. The committee meetings became a fixed point in his week. Lucia ran them with efficient enthusiasm, assigning tasks that utilized everyone's strengths. She treated Michael's quietness not as damage but as thoughtfulness, waiting for his input with genuine interest. "You don't waste words," she told him one evening as they stayed late designing the layout for the fair. "I like that about you." Most people find it unnerving, he admitted, realizing he'd just offered personal information without being asked, something he hadn't done in years. "I grew up with 6 siblings. Trust me, I appreciate someone who doesn't feel the need to fill every silence." Her laugh was warm, uninhibited. It wasn't one dramatic moment but a series of small ones. Lucia bringing coffee to a Saturday planning session, remembering he took it black. Michael finding himself sharing a story about his college days that made her laugh so hard she snorted, which made him laugh too. Emma noticing, wide-eyed, that her father was talking more, smiling more. The breaking point came during the science fair itself. A display toppled, narrowly missing a group of third graders. Michael reacted instantly, catching the heavy board before it could cause harm. The adrenaline, the flash of fear, it triggered something. He found himself in the supply closet, breath coming short, the world narrowing to a pinpoint. Then Lucia was there, her hand warm on his back. "Michael. You're okay. Everyone's okay." "I can't," he gasped. Vanessa was, it was so sudden. Understanding dawned in her eyes. the accident? He nodded, unable to explain how every unexpected crisis, every moment of danger reminded him of the call that had shattered his world, the suddenness of loss. I lost my brother when I was 20, she said quietly. Not the same, I know. But that feeling that disaster is always waiting around the corner? I get it. She didn't try to fix him. Didn't offer platitudes. She just sat with him in that closet among the construction paper and glue sticks, bearing witness to his pain without flinching from it. That night, after Emma was asleep, Michael found himself doing something he hadn't done since Vanessa's death. He called a friend. His old college roommate was surprised but delighted to hear from him. They talked for an hour. The relationship with Lucia evolved slowly, cautiously. Their first official date was to a quiet restaurant where they talked until closing. She told him about growing up in a chaotic, loving household, about teaching herself English through books, about her dream of eventually opening a STEM program for girls from disadvantaged backgrounds. "I'm still broken," he told her one night, 6 months after they'd met. "There are days when I can barely function." "We're all broken in places," she replied. "But you love your daughter fiercely. You show up, even when it's hard. That's not brokenness, Michael. That's courage." Emma bloomed in the warmth of their developing relationship. The first time she heard her father's full-throated laugh at one of Lucia's stories, she stared in wonder before joining in, her small body vibrating with joy. It wasn't seamless. Michael still had dark days. There was the anniversary of Vanessa's death when he withdrew completely, unable to get out of bed. Lucia didn't push or demand. She simply made sure Emma was cared for, then sat beside him, grading papers while he stared at the ceiling. "You don't have to stay," he whispered. "I know," she answered. "I want to." 18 months after they met, Michael found himself standing in his kitchen, watching Lucia help Emma with her homework. The familiar pain was there, the wish that Vanessa could see their daughter growing, thriving, but alongside it was something new, gratitude. Gratitude that in the midst of his silent suffering, someone had seen him, really seen him. That night, after Emma was asleep, he took Lucia's hand. "I've been thinking about what you said, about everyone being broken in places." She nodded, waiting. "I think maybe that's where the light gets in. Through the cracks." He took a deep breath. "I love you, Lucia. You and Emma, you're my light." Her eyes filled with tears as she squeezed his hand. "And you're ours." When I first shared this story online, it was based partly on my uncle's experience after losing my aunt to cancer. Like Michael, he withdrew into himself, focused solely on raising their son. It took years before he could open himself to the possibility of joy again. What struck me most was how the woman who eventually became his second wife never tried to replace what he'd lost or rush his healing. She simply loved him through it, meeting him where he was each day. This is the power of patient love, not the kind that demands or fixes, but the kind that witnesses, that stands beside you in the storm and says, "I'm not going anywhere." It's the kind of love that doesn't compete with your pain but simply loves you harder than that pain ever could. If this story touched you today, remember there are people all around us living in silent battles. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is simply be present for them, loving them through their darkest moments until they're ready to step back into the light.